having recently gone through and played Batman Arkham Asylum for the first time in a while, honestly, there are a lot of great things about this game, even by today's standards. There are a lot of amazing things that hold up about it, and today I wanted to talk about the things Batman Arkham Asylum did best. I did ask you guys your overall thoughts, and the general consensus was one specific thing, and I'm going to get into that, but I kind of want to explain why as well, because a lot of people will give their reasons, but they won't really have a... It's not that they don't have a good explanation to back it up, but I just think that I can be a little bit more specific than what other people give you generally. So, without wasting your time too much, let's talk about the things Batman Arkham Asylum did best. And if you guys enjoy, make sure to subscribe and leave a thumbs up on the video. Now, the first and most obvious thing, it's the thing that everybody attributes to when you talk about Batman Arkham Asylum, and that is the atmosphere. But what is it about Batman Arkham Asylum's atmosphere that is so great? Well, I think it has a certain feeling to it that no other game gives you. Because you know when you play like a horror game, and you can feel the tension at all times, knowing something could jump out and scare you at any moment. That's kind of what Arkham Asylum feels like compared to any other Arkham game. With the other Arkham games, I never really had a sense of, like, fear. I never had a sense of horror or being creeped out. This game does a really good job of making you feel creeped out specifically. It's not a horror game, right? You don't really get jump scares, but the aura in the air as you're going through as Batman is very, very creepy. Now, there is a couple different reasons as to why this game kind of has the creepiest aura, and it's two different factors specifically that I could think of off the top of my head. First of all, as you're going through like the asylum, as you're going through these buildings, a lot of like the walls, the ceiling, the floors, they're all very run down. They all are not the greatest quality. It kind of gives you the feeling of, I'm very creeped out to be in here. You know, the lights will flicker on you sometimes. Nothing really seems to work properly. Nothing has been fixed or revamped in ages, it feels like. And it gives you that creepy haunted house feeling almost, just because of how old it is and because of how crappy everything just looks in the building. But not just that. Also, the actual asylum, like, you know, people who live there, the actually mentally ill people who jump out at you on a consistent basis, if you don't have your detective mode on, you can absolutely get jump scares from that. It can absolutely creep you out on all levels. As well as the overall claustrophobic nature of this game just doesn't really allow you to just go to a different part of Gotham if you so choose. No, you are stuck on this island with a bunch of, you know, insane, mentally ill people, as well as these super criminals, and you are not allowed to leave. Adds another complete different element of creepiness to this game. The next thing that this game did best, and it kind of ties into the whole claustrophobic thing that I was just mentioning, that is the utilization of a small map. Because nowadays you see these story, you know, single player driven games that have bigger maps. In a lot of people's minds, bigger means better. But that's not necessarily true. Bigger doesn't always mean better. Sometimes I actually find it to be more annoying to have to go from one side of the map to the complete opposite side of the map because of the time it takes. Now, Batman Arkham Origins is a bit of an exception to the rule because it does have fast travel, so fair enough. But, you know, let's use a game, for example, like GTA 5. Having to go, you know, from the very bottom of the map all the way up to the desert takes several minutes, and I find it to be extremely boring and extremely annoying to have to go all the way across the map just to, you know, get to the next point of the game and do the next mission. To me, I don't like it. And so the utilization of a small map in this game really does help because it doesn't take long to get from point A to point B. If you go from one building to the next, the longest it's going to take you is a minute to get over there. Whereas in the other Arkham games, sometimes you're spending 2, 3, 4 minutes just gliding over there. And the biggest issue that gets caused with spending so much time gliding over is the fact that it kind of just kills any sort of momentum that you have in the story. Because by the time that you spend 5 minutes gliding across a map, by the time that you've made it all the way across, it just kind of kills any sort of momentum you had going. And yeah, you could argue that people might want to enjoy the scenery. However, I would counter-argue that you don't really care as much about the story at that point because of how much time you've had to spend going across the map. So this game does a really good job of making it extremely quick and easy to get across so that I can keep immersed in the story, and so I feel like I'm actually going at a fast pace like Batman. The next thing I have here, it's something that's kind of interesting the more I think about it, and that is stealth section difficulty. And that is for a couple different reasons. The first thing being that Batman in this game doesn't have as many gadgets as he does in future titles. And Batman does not operate as smoothly in this game. Now, that could sound like a diss on paper, but what you could also argue is that it makes him more realistic to use overall in this game. Along with Batman not being as easy to use in this game and being quote unquote more realistic, also comes with very unpredictable AI. Now, this is kind of something that's a thing in all of the Batman Arkham games, but I find them to be the most unpredictable in Batman Arkham Asylum specifically. For some reason, I'm not sure what it is. I can't fully put my finger on it, but for some reason, I always feel like that they're on the verge of turning around and looking at you more than any other particular Batman Arkham game. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But because what this game does is it forces me to think a lot more about my overall attacks compared to any other sort of Batman Arkham game, with maybe the exception of Batman Arkham Knight. But the only time that that particular game is harder is when you have the undetectable enemies. But generally speaking, I have to use my brain a lot more in this one due to Batman's limited capabilities compared to future titles, as well as unpredictable AI, as well as a lot of these rooms are a lot more claustrophobic and tight compared to the other games. Most of the other games have a lot more free space in terms of the stealth sections, but in this game, a lot of the spaces are a lot tighter, so it makes it a lot more tricky to plan out your attacks. The fourth thing that this game did best, because it's the only one to do it compared to any of the Arkham games, would actually be the overall comic book style. Now, I'm not personally someone who cares about cosmetics that much. Like, yeah, some designs do matter. However, it's not going to be the end of the world if the design of a certain character isn't a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. However, this game does do a fantastic job with that kind of comic book style of characters that the future games don't really hold on to as much. The future games kind of go more into realistic character designs, but these ones do an extremely good job of kind of trying to replicate something similar to Batman the Animated Series while also adding its own video game character style. And like I said, I'm not one who's into cosmetics, but I do appreciate the effort that the game put in to trying to make them look at least somewhat similar to their animated series counterparts. Also considering the fact that these voice actors, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Arlene Sorkin, these were, the originals of Batman the Animated Series. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy and Arlene Sorkin. The last thing that Batman Arkham Asylum did best was Scarecrow, because Scarecrow was utilized extremely well in this game, in my opinion, especially considering the fact that bosses were a last-minute addition, and I don't want to go into Arkham Knight too much. However, Scarecrow absolutely got the shaft in Batman Arkham Knight, at least in my opinion. He kind of felt like he was put aside for the Arkham Knight himself, and I'm not going to go too much into what Arkham Knight did wrong with Scarecrow. This is more about what Arkham Asylum did right with Scarecrow. And even though Scarecrow is only in those two games, so by default, he has to be the best in this one, right? Well, you could say that that's not necessarily true, because Scarecrow was able to release a Fear Burst toxin in Batman Arkham Knight, but I would say this game did a better job using Scarecrow, simply due to the fact that he's actually an obstacle that you have to physically and mentally overcome, right? Scarecrow's never been a threat to Batman physically. It's all about how he can use fear to control Batman. And in Batman Arkham Knight, he didn't necessarily do that as well as you could see that he did here. But as well as there is a physical element to this as well, to where we are able to eventually defeat Crane's, fear toxin, and we're able to get him out of there in the Killer Croc section. So, overall, I would say that this game did a better job of letting us take out Scarecrow, letting us defeat Scarecrow, whereas in Arkham Knight, we didn't really physically do anything to defeat him. It was more all mental. There wasn't really any, ability to actually stop him. Whereas in Arkham Asylum, I felt like, him getting fed to Killer Croc was enough for me to consider him being overall stopped. And these are the things that Batman Arkham Asylum did best. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? I'm sure there are some things I missed, but overall, I tried to pick the things that I believe that this game did better and was the most definitive answer in terms of what Batman Arkham Asylum did best. Because even though this game is not regarded as the best in the franchise by any means, it does have amazing qualities that we can all love and cherish to this very day. I just want to give a big shout out to those of you who do support this channel. I do very much appreciate every single one of you. And if you want to become a member today, click the join button right underneath this video. That does entail shout outs at the end of each video, early access to new videos, as well as your own personal videos that nobody else gets access to besides you. So if you want to join, make sure to click the join button today. As well as if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe for more content, and as always, thank you so much for everything, guys. I do appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you all have an amazing day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!